I would say to your point, it's almost like a rebrand, but not really so much a rebrand. My role specifically is marketing and communications manager. I think we're just kind of painting a picture externally so that the community and prospective families kind of have a better understanding of who we are and what we want to be.
The big issue that you're having is you're trying to get more foot traffic. You're trying to get more leads. You're trying to get more sales. What are your previous marketing efforts? You're working towards that goal, and are you ready for a video to amplify those marketing efforts? We can create the best video in the world, but if you can't distribute it and you're not ready to take those clients, then it's not going to work at all.
Right.
Welcome to Return on Visuals, where we help creatives and organizations maximize their visual spend. Here we simply answer the question, what's the ROV? What's the return on visuals? From promotional marketing, training videos, and internal communications, we demystify the production process for video, photo, live events, and more. I'm your host, Michelangelo, owner of SAVP, and today I'm joined by Aysia Pryor. Aysia is the Marketing and Communications Manager for TMI Episcopal Private School here in San Antonio. We've worked together multiple times, and I'm grateful that you're able to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm grateful to be able to be here too. So thanks for inviting me, Michael.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So a little bit about me. I am, of course, like you mentioned, I'm a marketing and communications manager here at TMI Episcopal. I've been there for a little bit over a year now, almost a year and a half. And prior to that, I moved here from Tucson, Arizona. And when I was in Tucson, I did a little bit of almost everything. I sold luxury cars. I, was a community manager for like a HOA, just a little bit of everything. And I've always had a creative side to me. I love creativity. Side story, grew up playing The Sims. And I just love that game as a whole because it's all around create. Like you get to create your own family, create your own house, and do all of those things. And so I knew from a young age that I wanted to do something in the creative field. I also grew up doing things on Windows Movie Player, I think it was called, or Movie Maker. And from that, I was like just putting things together from such a young age. And I'm grateful for where I'm at right now because I feel like I've been able to bring together a lot of my skills and my creative skills. And, I'm still growing and still have some developing to do, but I'm, thankful for, just my background and my experiences and how they've been able to come together into one.
So you said you were in Tucson and you were doing car sales there.
Yes.
Okay. And were you in like the marketing department or were you selling cars specifically? Like I
was selling cars.
Okay.
So I was out in the field, and it was something I'd never done before. I did that during COVID. Which was so unusual. I'm like, how did I even get into this? But I did it for a short period of time. And I felt like just from that short period of time I did it, I felt like I learned a lot. It got me out of my shell a little bit because that's such a shark environment. And I've always liked sales too, just talking to people and, persuasive communication, using that. And I feel like that wasn't my opportunity to be able to put those skills into play. I have my degree in communications, my bachelor's degree. And so, in the field of communication, I learned, conflict communication. I learned interpersonal and persuasive communication. So I was able to utilize what I learned in persuasive communication in luxury car sales. So I worked at Porsche in Tucson and sold cars, and it was it was pretty heavy in the sense of it could be 12-hour days and you're just trying to sell cars, but it was fun, and I'm grateful for that experience too.
You are doing cars. You had your business degree in marketing. At what point did you transition over to Texas and to what you're doing today?
Yeah, so my husband and I moved to San Antonio at the end of 2022. And prior to that, to moving, I was like, okay, time to move on to something else. I got to look for a position in San Antonio before moving out there. And so I found a listing for, the posting was for marketing director at TMI Episcopal. And so I apply for it. I get an email back and I'm so excited about it. And it was from Stephanie Gish, who you'd work with prior to working with me. And she moved to Florida, and I just felt like the timing of everything was perfect. She was moving away and I was moving to Texas. So I feel like everything was just aligned. And so I interviewed. Honestly, not surprising, but a little bit surprising. I got the position because, of course, I feel like I'm still in that developing, and that's me, being transparent too. I'm still in that developing phase in my life too, and even professionally too. But, a lot of the things that Stephanie and I had talked about on our Zoom calls, a lot of the things I knew, like, I've dabbled in that before, or I know how to do that, as far as HTML website updates or changes. And so me speaking, I felt like I was the right person, honestly, humbly. But of course, to the understanding that I would have some shoes to fill up as well, too. And so, we moved. I started at TMI January of 2023. Where are we at right now? It's May 2024. So it's, a year and a half later. I'm grateful for where I'm at. And, I'm still feel like I'm pushing forward and learning new things constantly.
That's awesome. Kind of almost a trial by fire, but like you're still like you're learning new skills as you're doing it. And for, so for the people that don't know everything that you do at TMI. So why don't you just tell us briefly, like not your day to day, but more so like the overall scope of like what you're in charge of there?
Yes. So my role specifically is marketing and communications manager. And so with that, I'm in charge of all of our external marketing efforts and communication efforts. Of course, I like to say that this, and everyone else there will agree that the environment at TMI is very collaborative. I sit on the senior leadership team, and so I'm sitting with, admissions director, advancement director, head of school president, and so many other people. It's about 8 of us on the senior leadership team, and all of us have our own field. And so it's very collaborative. I can't say that I do all the marketing myself, because admissions sales, they're really selling the school. But I feel like I put forth a lot of the visuals towards the marketing and the images. So like on a day, if there's a good, photo opportunity, I want to make sure I can capture that so that I can put that towards the advertisements I send out to the community. And then again, on the communication side, so like any communication that's going to go out to our community, I'm sending that out. So I might receive something from, let's say, the advancement department. Hey, we want to send this out to all parents and all alumni. They might write it up and I'll draft it up, make edits and changes, and, make sure it just aligns with our, just everything. And then I'll send that out. So that's kind of what my role as a whole is in a nutshell.
Got it. So if that private school, right, if you guys had like one goal in mind and you're like, in terms of, marketing or communications, I would imagine, the mission, but the brand is like one thing that you guys want to take care of, but what is like the biggest goal when it comes to that? Like what is like, I would say like your biggest pillar that you guys are always striving towards whenever you're designing something or you're coming up with a new campaign? What is most often, I would say, like the biggest like goal that you guys are trying to achieve?
Yeah, so right now specifically, and I've been working with our director of admissions and financial aid on this, is, considering the history of TMI, it started as an all boys school. It started out, the name, there's been so many name changes. It was known as Texas Military Institute. And so I feel like we still in 2024 carry some of that history. People think it's just a school for misbehaved, military kids, or they think it's an all boys school. And so right now we kind of have more boys enrolled than we have girls. And so what the admissions director and I have been working on are some like ways to, kind of battle that and try to get ahead of that and try to get, kind of like an equal or close to equal, gender balance. And so what I have been trying to do in my efforts is whenever there's a good photo opportunity, I want to make sure I'm capturing more pictures of girls to kind of create that story that the girls experience at TMI, and just showing that we do have girls, so just kind of changing that image too. So that's something that we're working on right now, is just trying to get ahead of that gender imbalance. And I feel like that's something that we're constantly going to work at. Again, that's something that I'm always mindful of whenever I'm going out and getting pictures on campus or of events. I'm going to make sure I'm getting pictures of girls so that we can have more short stories to share around girls at TMI.
See, I thought your answer, honestly, I thought it was going to be more focused on like attendance and admissions and trying to get more students to come and to grow. It looks like you guys are already growing.
Yeah. TMI, we are growing. And it's one of those things, I feel like it kind of sells itself too. That school sells itself because of, we have great families come through, and our admissions director can give a whole blurb about that. But we have so many great families come through, and they have a great experience. And so it's a lot of word of mouth. So they tell other families that they know, and that's how, a lot of the families come to us too. So the marketing efforts are only kind of there to show if someone doesn't know about it or they want to look more into it, then we have to be able to have that online presence to be able to speak for, what they hear. So I feel like that's where I come into play with the marketing and the marketing role. Along with that, on our social media accounts, I work with Miss Laura Cardona. We run the social media account together. And again, that's where our efforts will come into play, making sure we're highlighting the girls' experience at TMI and just showing, the overall experience at TMI is great. But yeah, I would say we're growing and constantly growing. And that's why we're in the middle of a capital campaign right now. We're going to go into construction this summer, which is going to be exciting. So I feel like that's another way that the school will kind of sell itself, where people will be able to see, man, like they're really investing into, the possibilities here, and people will see that, and I think it'll be good. So it's a good time to be at TMI.
That's awesome. It's always good to hear. So you guys really don't have to really think it, because it is a lot of word of mouth. You don't really have to think about advertising and pushing that, come join TMI. You guys aren't struggling with that at all. Which is really good. That's a good problem to have. Like you're in a good position for sure.
But it is good to have those too, that that online presence. So whenever people do hear about it and they'd want to do a little bit more research themselves, at least they can see, in our marketing efforts, okay, they are, it's kind of like if you work with someone, you want to be able to research their website and see okay, they are official. They're not just, just someone I heard about around the bayou. Yeah, they have an official website and stuff too. For sure.
For sure. I want to go back a little bit to where you were saying that you guys are trying to bring equality to the overall student body, right? You want equal 50% male and female. What is something you can tell us that you guys have been working on towards that, but also something that you guys have been struggling on with that?
So prior to me joining TMI Episcopal, what it's known as now, they were named, they've gone through so many different name changes. The one prior to TMI Episcopal, the name was TMI, the Episcopal School of Texas. And I think that was in 2017 or 2018 when they made the change to TMI Episcopal, what it's at now. But before that, again, it was Texas Military Institute. There's just been so many name changes. But I think now TMI Episcopal, we do have some of our older alumni who know it as Texas Military Institute. But of course that TMI kind of abbreviates it and shortens it down. I know I feel like our community know that we have an optional JROTC program, and it's not something that we we try to push so much to our new families because we don't want them to think, or our prospective families, we don't want them to think, oh yeah, you're coming to TMI Episcopal where you have to be a part of the Corps of Cadets, which isn't true. And so once the new students or the new families come to TMI and they see, oh, they do have an optional JROTC program, but we don't so much push for our new families to join the JROTC program. So again, I feel like it's just a part of history and what it has been. But I feel like, again, that's why our marketing efforts, we don't want to push so much for the Corps of Cadets. We do about 10% of the Corps in our external marketing efforts. And then again, just trying to push that girl heavy story, paint the picture of us being a girl heavy school, not girl heavy, but just having more girls there too. And again, yeah, I would say to your point, it's almost like a rebrand, but not really so much a rebrand. I think we're just kind of painting a picture for our, externally, so that the community and prospective families kind of have a better understanding of who we are and what we want to be.
Yeah. So you're just painting a broader picture.
Yes.
Which is always great. Especially because it took me, I want to say, I've been working with TMI, I think 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me at least 2 years to be like, oh, it stands for Texas Military Institute. I always thought okay, TMI Episcopal, TMI. So I just thought private school.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a military background, but it's, I just thought, no, it's just a private school.
Yeah.
And they just happen to have a really robust ROTC program.
Yeah.
So I was just one of those, it really, it is working, and it's going to be a long-term. I feel like, every year is just going to get closer and closer to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that can just change overnight,
Mm-hmm.
So, no, that's awesome that you guys are working towards that.
Yeah.
In terms of photo and video, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does that play a role in what you guys are doing in terms of, grabbing stills for online or grabbing videos for online? How do you guys manage those marketing efforts?
Yeah, so I feel like I really kind of forefront those efforts. Of course, whenever there's an event for the advancement department, they have their Entrepreneur and Innovation Award Luncheon. They have the Stars Over TMI Gala. And so at both of those events, we try to have a video that kind of captures, whatever topic we want to display at those events. So this previous year, we celebrated 130 years at TMI. And so we really wanted both videos to kind of gravitate around 130 years. That's a long time that TMI has been around. And so those videos really we want them to really kind of pull at the audience members' heartstrings. And so that's where I get to work with you, and you come out to campus and we interview, or you interview, but, I'll pull the students who I want to be in the video, and, from there, and we come up with the video together, and, the product is always amazing. And then from that, we display it at the event. And then after that, it's typically displayed on the website too. And we share it out in an email too. So whenever we do a recap of the event, we'll send the recap out to all families of TMI and then anyone who attended that event. And we'll include the video link in there as well. And then as far as photo opportunities, anytime there's kind of a major event on campus, we will, either I or a combination of Laura and I will capture photos at the event. And then there's sometimes, for example, at the Stars Over TMI Gala, we hire a professional photographer to come out. And there's one that I'd been working with for the past year as well, Umberto, and he always comes out and he's able to capture the essence of the event. And so we'll use that in our marketing efforts. We'll share it to social media. And again, they're just always good. I like looking at the pictures too, because I'm okay, how can I use this in an ad? Especially if it has students. in the pictures, and again, just adding more to the visual aspect of telling the story of TMI.
Are you guys doing anything like day to day without any like professionals or professional videographers or photographers? Because these days you kind of have to be online all the time. I see you guys posting on Instagram all the time. Are you doing anything with, or you or your staff, are you all collecting your own photos and videos? Have you had to like pick up those skills to do the
Yes, for sure. And I love to. I'm happy to. I actually just recently purchased I've always been into camera equipment from a young age, messing around on Windows Movie Maker in like 2007 or 2008. And I have always loved camcorders and, again, just the point and shoots. But I just recently invested in a Canon R7. And I feel like that's great for photos and videos for what I'm doing at TMI. And again, I've used that if there's something going on that day, then I'm having to capture the pictures for that. For example, graduation, I had the professional photographer there to capture like the stage pictures, but I really wanted to capture some of like what was the background of what was going on. So I posted that on social media yesterday. And I've been like tracking the likes on that, and we're almost at 400 likes on those pictures. I posted about 7 pictures, and I was extremely happy with how that came out. And then as far as video, I did have to work on some videos this past semester. And it was super fun. A teacher, an English teacher, reached out to me, and she wanted to create a video or have a video created that she could use at a webinar around the day on creative writing or something like that. And so I interviewed her, I interviewed some students, I captured some B-roll in those classes, and I put that all together for her. And I think it was like about a 5-minute video. But of course, with that being my first video that I was working on for someone, I realized like, okay, for the next time I need to, maybe invest in this. Like, for example, I was just using the camera audio. So next time I'm like, okay, I need to have some microphones, because we were outside for one of the interviews and the wind kind of picked up. But again, it's just trial and error, and I love doing it. It's super fun because these are things I've always been interested in and have loved and had, they've kind of sparked a fire in me. So it's fun, and I'm excited to continue and get better at it too.
That's so cool. Yeah, I always love hearing those stories of like people's like first 100 shoots where like, and it's crazy. Even now, like on shoot, I've been doing this for 10 years, but every shoot that I go to, I learn something new.
Yeah.
Like just something small or infant, like it's still like a knife that you're like always sharpening or a pot that you're like always like molding together and forming it. And it really, that's why I love what I do, because I'm always meeting new people. I'm always working on different projects. But even just with video and photo in general, like I'm just always learning new things, which is always fun. One question I did want to ask. So at what point TMI, or do you go like, okay, so for this event or this coverage or anything like that, like we can just do it all ourselves. This marketing campaign, we have a lot of photos and videos, or I can just go grab this from one of the teachers. What point did that jump over to like, okay, we need a professional?
I would say that was more so whenever Stephanie Gish, who was the previous marketing and communications director at TMI, I would say a lot of that carried over from her. I saw like a list of, people who she'd worked with, and your name was on there. And from that, I think it was just, that's kind of just been a part of the system from what I know and from what she has been using. And I feel like it's worked great. And I foresee it being something that we continue to do. Whenever there's a huge, something huge we need a video for, we're always gonna reach out to Michelangelo at San Antonio Video Productions to come out and, capture the footage, capture the interviews. because the product is amazing. The product is great. And so I foresee that being something that I continue to use. And we all know the like I've explained to you, it's night and day too from what, we've seen in other from other vendors. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
I didn't think I was going to get a sponsor push here, but
yeah. So now you'll have to put your logo. I know. I'd have to
put that. Be like, that was planned. We wrote that into the script.
This video is sponsored.
That's so funny. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Okay, so I want to transition over a little bit to turning the table here to where you will have the opportunity to basically ask any questions that you may have. I've been getting a great perspective on your life and your marketing in that sense, and basically what you do on a day-to-day basis. Do you have any questions for photographers or videographers, people or any vendors, even if they're like AV vendors, and anything that can help, I would say, demystify that for you? Like if you had any questions about it, or anything that you're curious about, anything that piqued your interest in the past?
Yeah. So something that I always like, especially even when I'm reaching out to you, like you've always responded like right away too. And I know you're working with so many other clients too. So it's like, how do you manage? Like, honestly, for me personally, sometimes I have a hard time keeping up with, following up with people sometimes, or responding back to people. So how do you do that in your role when you're working with so many other clients and you have so many other projects going on at once?
I would say the biggest tool that I use for that would be a CRM. So a CRM, for folks that don't know, it's a customer relationship manager. Mm-hmm. And basically I plug everybody into my CRM, and then we have a separate database on Notion for project management.
Okay.
So I set up pretty much, I have all of my clients on my CRM, and it's activity based. So I will literally, what's great about, and the CRM that I use is Pipedrive. What's great about it is that whenever I have something to do with that client, I will mark it down as an activity. It's kind of like a list of reminders.
On Notion?
On Pipedrive.
On Pipedrive.
So so in terms of like touching base and emailing people or calling people and making sure that I'm keeping up with them on a weekly, monthly, or even a daily basis for some critical projects. So like whenever I'm working with somebody and we shoot a video and we're working on it, I'm keeping up with them like once a day or at least every other day. Giving them updates or telling them what we're doing. For clients that, we're working on closing a deal together, whether it's a bid or proposal, I'll reach back to them every 3 to 5 days. Mm-hmm. But, for the first 3 years of running SAVP, I didn't have a CRM.
Oh my goodness.
Everything was very, everything was very email based and notes based. Mm-hmm. And a lot of videographers and photographers, they start out that way. But at a certain point, you get to where you're shooting so much and you're working so much or editing so much, and you're also trying to juggle all of these emails, that things just start falling through the cracks.
Right.
And that you end up just forgetting to respond. Mm-hmm. And, one time, I think it was last March, because I just got Pipedrive, I would say March of 2023. And it wasn't, I had a sales mentor, and we were talking together, and he saw I was still on Excel and, going through mail and notes. And it was literally, I had 3 flights in March where I went to like Vegas, I went to Denver, and it was just a lot of traveling, filming. Mm-hmm. And a client had reached out to me at the beginning of March, or a prospect pretty much. They reached out to me at the beginning of the month for a conference that was going to be in April. Mm-hmm. And that was like a proposal that was about like a 4-day shoot for like $8,000. Well, I forgot to respond to them. Like I sent them the proposal. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't get back to them until like a few days before the conference.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I was like, I need a better system. Because I just forgot. Mm-hmm. It's just that's just an opportunity where even if it's a 30, 40, or 50% chance that they said yes, if it was a flip of a coin to get $8,000, you got to take that flip. If you don't take that flip, that's a 0% chance. Mm-hmm. So, Pipedrive has been truly life-changing for me. And it's not just for sales. It's for any relationship that you want to keep up with. Mm-hmm. So whether it's that's a professional relationship or even a personal relationship, if you want to keep up with like friends or family that you're just like, my life is extremely busy, but I want to keep this relationship going, you're able to put that in your relationship manager.
Oh,
That's
wow.
basically what it is. So yeah, I basically in terms like on a week to week basis, I have anywhere from 30 to like 80 activities that I have to do, whether it's touch base or anything, but it's all out of my head and in that system, and that system doesn't forget.
Okay. So Pipedrive is the CRM that you use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm familiar with CRMs too from, of course, selling cars too, which those, once you said activities, that was almost like a little trigger for me because sometimes I would be like, oh my goodness, I just want to clear these activities. Let me just it's like text them, call them, email them, and do all these things for so many different clients. But no, that's helpful. And that was inspiring to hear for me too, because I'm thinking like, I've heard of Notion and I feel like I need to use that kind of as a task manager, but Pipedrive might be good for me to use just for, again, a lot of the vendors that I'm working with too, and even just staying in contact with people, my personal life too, with family and stuff, because I can sometimes let that fall through the cracks. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%, 100%. Like it really is one of those things where you can get very caught up like professionally, and then months go by where you haven't reached out to somebody.
Yes.
It's not just professional, but yeah, even with like professional relationships, like I talk to other vendors, I talk to other videographers and photographers, and I want to keep up with those relationships, even though they're not going to guarantee me a sale. Like I use
Yes.
I use Pipedrive more, not just for my sales process. It does work really well for my sales process and keeping up with people that way, but I use it to keep up also with my professional network.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say if you have all these things like in your head and you're putting it in your notes, oh, remind me to text this person or remind me to text that person. Like if it was on, if you had it in a CRM system like that, where it was just you and all of your staff and teachers and the admin, you wouldn't forget anything ever because it's all in there, which is it's super helpful, and it's super helpful for reminders. And I'd recommend anybody to use a CRM. The CRM is one half of that question. The other half is the project management side. So I use Notion for project management.
Project management. Okay. That's what I really need to use that. So on the senior leadership team, we go to these offsites. It's like an EOS model that we use. And we have to reflect on like the previous year. And one of the last things at one of our last offsites, and I said that sometimes I have a hard time keeping up with my notes because I'll use notes in so many other formats. And I just need something central to where I can use it as a project manager and like put my tasks and stuff in there too. Because it can be easy to let things fall through the cracks too. Super easy. And it's like, I just need something where all my notes are centralized. I can click and mark things off. So that's super helpful.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to project management, the way like my Notion is set up, and even though we only have like 2.5 employees here at SAVP, I do work with a network of about 15 to 20 other vendors, whether they're other videographers, other photographers, AV companies, DJs, event coordinators. And if we're all working together on a project and that becomes like a 5 to 10 person team, I have to manage all of that.
Yeah.
But the way I've structured my database, my project management database, is by departments. So like there is an editing department, there is a videographer's department, there's a department for client notes, and basically they all kind of interconnect and speak with each other. And we use client portals for our company at SAVP, and that's where all of those clients are managed, where it's kind of like the home base for our clients. TMI has a client portal, and we have our projects in there, and it's really granular. So it's one of those things where it took a lot of effort to set up, but the payoff is so worth it because basically, my entire project management, thing that's going on in my head, where I'm trying to like remember all these names, I'm trying to remember all the locations, I'm trying to remember the goals, who's going to be on that shoot, how much is each individual person going to get paid, what kind of equipment should we bring. It's like all of that's just out of my head and onto the system. And literally at the end of the day, I can just get off the system and not have to think about it, and I'll I can also link that to my calendar as well. So, and send that out as an email to everybody that's coming to a shoot, whether that's a client or a photographer or videographer. And they'll be like, "Oh, what are the details?" I'm like, "I don't know the details. Look at the thing." Michael from 2 weeks ago, when he set that up, knew the details.
Yeah.
And he thought about it then. Just open the link. You'll read everything there, the location, the timeline. Because I mean, you're right. I do, like, on an active basis, like I have probably 10 to 15 projects that we're working on at the same time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we do like probably about 100 to 120 projects a year. With probably about 50 to 70 clients. And yeah, it is pretty wild just managing all that. And the editors, they have their process and they have an editing pipeline, and we guarantee a 2 to 3 week turnaround time. And it's one of those things where how can I keep scaling and still guarantee that 2 to 3 week turnaround time? Because video and photo, you need a fast turnaround time these days. And it's like, how do you keep that guarantee with the same level of quality that you were doing whenever we had 5 projects at a time, or just 1 to 2 projects at a time, where we can just spend a whole month on 2 projects. Well, I mean, now we're doing like 10 at a time. So it's just,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But you're right about people, there being a fast turnaround. People have, we live in this day of like instant gratification. People want things like, as soon as the event ended, they're like, okay, where's the outcome or the deliverable? So yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah. Sometimes there's same day turnarounds. So like I'll do conferences, like a 2 or 3, 4 day event. And at the end of the day, and the worst one where at the end of the day, we have to turn in like a highlight video and a social reel, like end of the day. So like a daily recap. So like throughout the day, we're dropping off footage and editing on a laptop at the conference. So same day edits are becoming more common. But yeah, it is one of those things where even like the big projects, like I hear from clients all the time where they're just like, they're surprised about the 2 to 3 weeks because they're very used to being like 2 to 3 months.
Wow, really? For a turnaround time for a project?
Oh yeah, that's like standard.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So 2 to 3 weeks is like amazing.
Well, I would say it's amazing, but it's really one of those things where I just got used to it, and it's also like if it's 2 to 3 weeks on our plate, and if that project lasts to 2 to 3 months, because of the amount of intake that we have, if it's not out the door within 2 to 3 weeks, then we're not working on 10 projects at a time. We're working on like 15 or 20.
Okay.
And the management just becomes, so it's one of those things where I have to train my guys to be very good, very effective, and very quick. So that way we can get the project out the door and move on to the next project, because we shoot like twice a week, so it's just building up. So it's one of those things where it's like, and that's what's great about the project management side on Notion and the CRM working together in conjunction. I'm constantly touching base with the clients and seeing if they've seen the video, because we do a 30-day revision process. So it's 2 to 3 weeks and then the 30-day revision process. But once it's basically out of our hands and in the client's hands and they have the review process, I have to touch base with them, constantly. And, with TMI, it's great because it's just you. You're really just reviewing it. There's 3, 4, 5 other people reviewing it. Whenever we work with organizations that have like 20 to 100 or 100 to 200 employees, their teams can be like 10 to 15 or 25 people reviewing a single video. And if I'm not on them, that, revisions process could take 3 to 6 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Just for that one project.
Oh yeah. Because sometimes it's multiple videos. Sometimes they have to go through marketing, PR, legal, the CEO, decision makers, CMO. Okay. So everybody has something to say about it.
Yeah, the key makers are, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I just call it like, lots of cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. There's a lot of yep.
Yeah, and but sometimes it depends on the organization and the brand. That's why I feel like we work best whenever we're working with companies that are in the 10 to 50 kind of organization range, maybe even 50 to 100, because then they don't have an in-house marketing team, but they need marketing. They're still growing, and also the teams are small enough to where you're able to just get notes right away. You're talking to decision makers every day. It's definitely a lot more straightforward, and we just love being in that space.
Then working with those larger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The larger ones, those are more agency level, where they work with agencies. We're sort of delving our way into agency level stuff because we're managing a lot of things now, not just with video and photo production, but we're doing a lot of distribution and marketing these days. And, we're even doing a lot of branding as well. So we're kind of dipping our toes into agency level stuff, but, agencies, they manage, 5 to 20 clients, and that's it. And they do that with a staff of 25 to 50 people. So, we're working our way there, but it's one of those things where we're working our way there, not because we want to, but because it's kind of needed, where, people don't just want video and photo. They want the entire service and they want it done for them.
Right.
So it's one of those things where we're picking up on those skills too.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, it sounds like you're growing and growth is good.
Yeah, great. Yeah, definitely. Growth is pretty good. But I'm training one of my photographers to do pretty much everything that I do, and really I'm at the stage where the first 3 years of SAVP were very much a sprint. Now we're midway through year 4. I feel like I'm doing everything. Trying to think of it more as a marathon now.
As a marathon.
Yeah, where I'm setting up the long-term processes.
Yeah.
I'm working more on social media. I'm developing this podcast, for example. The first 3 years, any decision that I would do would be instant gratification.
Okay.
Whether it was sales, marketing, ads, whatever, it would be okay, I'm just doing pretty much growing the business very quickly. Now it's just okay, now I have to do these long-term SEO stuff that it's just it's gonna grow later.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where it's I'm just now more focused on super long-term stuff, which is a lot of fun, but it's also one of those things where I'm not used to it because I'm very much, like I said, wanting to go super, super quick. And I'm just okay, there's nothing to go quick on anymore. Everything's done. The website's done, the sales process is done, accounting is fully done, legal's all done. There's really nothing else to grow that quickly anymore.
That's awesome, though. It sounds like you have everything in place. Now you kind of get to, like you said, the marathon. I love how you use that too. You get to kind of set things in place and, make sure, when that comes up or down the road, that is already in place. So
yeah, there's full on job descriptions and departments that have already been created, and the job tasks have already been created. And I'm doing, because I have so many hats, I'm doing a little bit of everything. But as I add on people, I can just shuffle them in there. Okay, you're doing lead gen, you're doing sales, you're doing client relationship, you're doing social media management, you're just working on the website and the blogs. And it's one of those things where I'm doing a little bit of everything, but I'm already able to shuffle people in as we can, as we can basically afford them. So it's just one of those things right now. I'm working on doing a creative producer. I'm bringing him on board, and he's going to be doing a little bit of everything, but mostly trying to take off the video production off my plate, and then also doing a little bit of the social media. But it's one of those things where, when they came in, they were I don't really know how to do lead gen. And it's okay, I have a 10-step basic process of what you do daily on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, to generate leads.
Yeah, to generate leads. And they're just surprised because it's and I'm I learned how to do that myself 6 months ago, but I can only do it a little bit because I'm also doing a million other
everything
things.
Else. Yeah. I love these kind of conversations too, because it's inspired. As a creative, you get inspired by other creatives too. I know that's how I get. And, something that I've been thinking about for the past couple of days too, and it comes up, like I've known this for years too, but I feel like as a creative, I feel like it's important to know how to do a wide array of things, a wide array of skills. So when you were just listing out like sales and, the lead gen and all these other things too, and that you were doing all of that and you had learned how to do all of that and picked it up like 6 months ago and stuff. And, as far as lead gen, I feel like that's good to be able to possess all of those skills too, because sometimes there are only people who know how to do like one portion of that. And so I feel like that's what makes a creative valuable too, because we have the ability to pick up something or be like, I don't really know much about that, but I'm gonna try my best effort at it, or I'm gonna do a little bit of research and I'm gonna learn about it. And that's how I feel personally. And I'm not sure if you feel that way too, that it's valuable to be able to know how to do so many other different things, because then you can transfer that to other people too and come up with the whole job description on in your marathon for whenever you do hire someone for that portion. You have some background on that too.
For sure, yeah. I think what we're kind of delving into right now is entrepreneurship and solopreneurship, and just growing business in that way. What's crazy is a lot of videographers and photographers, they fall in love with the creative side, and that's what starts them on it, that path. And one very common struggle for creatives is that, when it comes to videographers, photographers, designers, brand designers, not all of them are into sales. Not all of them are into accounting. Not all of them are sociable and can talk to people. Sometimes they're very, very comfortable behind the camera. They're very uncomfortable in sociable places. So I consider myself pretty lucky in the sense that, like, I love video. I love what I do, with cameras. I love the technical aspect of it. I love lenses. I just geek out about it all day long. And I love just making videos. But I'm really grateful for the fact that I do also have a genuine passion and interest in business in general, and entrepreneurship and sales and, marketing and lead generation, website design, portfolio design. It's one of those things where that stuff also interests me. And I've learned that about myself over the past few years, where that interests me just as much. Like, I'm equally as passionate about both, which kind of puts me in a unique position to be able to talk to both people on that side and people on the other side. Whereas, like, and I always say, like, if you don't know something, that's totally fine. You just have to recognize that you don't know something and solve it one way. Like, for example, audio was never my strong suit. And I knew that. So I always hired audio guys, and I hired audio guys over and over again. And then they were able to teach me how to do audio better.
That's awesome.
Lighting was never my thing either. I just wanted to be a camera guy and I knew how to edit really well, and I just wanted to do camera. But cameras can only get you so far. I mean, if you think about like Jurassic Park, for example, it wasn't filmed on cameras that were remotely as advanced as we have now, but they still did it. They did, they had, big film cameras and all this lighting and stuff. And we, some might say we have more powerful cameras in our pockets right now, in our cell phones. And it's one of those things where it's like, you can only get so far with cameras if you don't learn everything in terms of audio, everything in terms of lighting. And you kind of have to pick up on those skills. And
for sure.
If you also want to continue to be, going past, starving artists and not just doing it as a hobby, you have to pick up sales. You have to pick up marketing.
Definitely.
You got to pick up client relationship. Like, it's just, you kind of have to, even if you're just in it for camera.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that too. Just even in my experience too, being able to, I've worked in sales too. And so I feel like that just adds to the package deal too, just having that skill and having, that experience. And I feel like that's super valuable to have that too, even for you, because you have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to sell your product, your services to people.
Yeah. And it's also one of those things where I try to learn as much as I can from my clients too, because Like for example, TMI is private school, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I work with a lot of people that do conference events.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with people that are in HVAC, plumbing. I've worked with people that are, doing spas and medical recovery. I've worked with a lot of people in the healthcare sector.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where in video production, you basically get a little sneak peek into all these different types of industries,
Mm-hmm.
and you can apply that back to your own. So, and not just apply that back to your own, you can apply different tactics, methods, and marketing strategies to other industries.
That's
so
awesome.
if you have a client that basically comes to you, like I had Alamo Fireworks, they needed a series of like training videos, and we created not just 15 training videos, but we created a learning management platform. We can apply that to a completely different organization that needs training videos and to learn how to retain employees without having those two industries connect, even if those two industries are completely separate.
Mm-hmm.
I have another one. This bioscientific health company, right? They wanted a virtual walkthrough of their medical labs because they were looking for investors to invest in those biomedical labs.
Mm-hmm.
So we did virtual walkthroughs for them using like 3D scanners. Well, that same technique and skill could be used for our other client that we're working with, Perry Homes, and they're doing modular, not home building, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. Like they're building these homes in the communities, and they have hundreds of homes. But it's one of those things where we can also scan those homes, and they can put that up on their website. So the skills are transferable between
Right.
industries.
Right. And like kind of what you said, like it gives you the opportunity to kind of you're learning for your client too, but then you're able to also take that information and go to them and say, hey, based off of, my experience working with this, I know that this works, like this angle kind of works too. So that's super cool. That's cool. And I feel like that's kind of what sales is too. I've learned in my past experiences in sales is you're kind of informing the client. You're giving them the best, the best solution. It's very solution based too,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is very solution based, and sometimes we've turned clients away because it's just one of those things where we try to find the root of the problem, and we say like, oh, you don't need a video
Mhm.
to solve that, and we can do a video for you, but it's one of those things where in our experience, if a video is not going to help you, then we let them know that, and we
Mhm.
let them know what the solution would most likely be and where we can direct them towards.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, if we charge them for a video that costs thousands of dollars and they're not going to get the result that they want, then they're going to look back at us and be like, why didn't your video do good? And it's like, well, we're not here to make videos. We're here to actually solve the issue that you're having.
Mhm.
So the big issue that you're having is you're trying to get more foot traffic. You're trying to get more leads. You're trying to get more sales, and that is more what are your previous marketing efforts to in working towards that goal, and are you ready for a video to amplify those marketing efforts? Do you
Mhm.
have those do you have those points for your audience in place already for them to be able to reach out to you and to touch base with you and talk to you? Because we can create the best video in the world, but if you can't distribute it and you're not ready to take those clients,
Mhm.
then it's not going to work at all. Because
Right.
it's just one of those things where we have to make sure that our clients are also fully set up to succeed, or else we won't even take them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just one of those things where, not that we won't like fully take them, but it's one of those things where we won't take them in the capacity that they want to go towards. It's more so we recommend the best option for them
Mhm.
based on what their goals are.
Yeah. No, and that's smart, and I'm sure that they're thankful for that because they look at it like, okay, these people aren't just trying to take our money; they're actually helping us, and they're giving us the best solution and an educated solution too. So,
Yeah, and it's just based off of like past experiences,
Mhm.
and just trying to help them, just get to the root of their problems. And it also very much has to work. You have to work with like the decision makers for that too,
For
because
sure.
sometimes the decision makers will send mid-level or entry-level marketing managers, or maybe even they'll send those guys to like get like 4 or 5 different vendors, ask them like, hey, we need a 5-minute video for this project or this campaign that we're doing, and they just compare and they do it based on price. They're like, oh well, these guys have the best quality to price thing, and but they never once think about like, is this video actually going to help solve our problem?
Right.
Whether or not it was a good video or a bad video, like they can get a really low quality video, but if it solves their problem, then it was a huge success. And vice versa, they can get a really high quality video, but if it doesn't do anything for them, then it's a failure.
Right.
And it's money spent.
That is interesting. It's making me look at those things from like a different light now too.
Yeah, it's and we, it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to ask yourself, like, are we actually solving what we're setting out to solve? So like when I asked you earlier in the beginning of like, okay, so what is like TMI's like main goal right now? And it's more focused on changing the narrative, where it's just like, it's 50-50. It's a boys and a girls school. You guys are more concerned about that than increasing your attendance. Then is every piece of content, and I know you said like you put it like through the lens of that, right? The lenses of like, when I go take photos or videos, I try to show more girls. That's fantastic. But is that being measured in any way where it's like, okay, all of our content, it's like, when people are watching, are the Instagram analytics, are they more female, more male? Are teachers or are parents, talking about that and noticing that? Are you guys doing like any surveys to be like, hey, what do you think of the school when you first thought about it? Is that changing their perception, and how that's different from the first year to the second year to the third year?
Right. Yeah, no. And those are things that I can definitely implement too. And it has me thinking, because I have another offsite coming up this week, actually, that I'm a little nervous about. And that's where we come up with new initiatives too for the year. And so that it has inspired me and sparked something to where it's like, that wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe measure that in some way too, kind of put out a parent survey or even a school survey, and the perception of TMI, and has that changed, and just getting some feedback that way.
Yeah, and I would say it would be more, the data would be more, I would say, valuable if it was like brand new people, like
new people,
like
new families,
like, like admissions. It really could be as simple as a questionnaire. So like that initial like contact point when they reach out to TMI to learn more information and to be like, oh, I want my kid to be a part of the private school. It's like, oh, okay, awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Can you fill this out for us? And that's like included. Like, what did you think of TMI? What is your perception of the school? Did you know that it was a military school? Did you know that it is a boys and girls school, or did you think it was just a boys school? And that survey will open your eyes, and it'll basically, you'll get a clear picture of what these new people are thinking. And that over time those percentages can just change, and you're like, okay, we need this percentage to shift. And are we actually putting that message out subliminally or intentionally? Whereas like, okay, we want to insert more pictures of girls, that's going to slowly change the message over time. But are we doing anything where it's like, hey, we're TMI, we are we used to do X, Y, and Z, but we're trying to change our image, or we're trying to broaden our scope or broaden our image, and this is what we're doing. And that can have a bigger impact a lot faster.
Yeah.
Because you're
just really putting that out
there.
there.
Because you are putting it out there, and you want people to know.
That is great. Thank you. I'm mentally taking notes on that too.
I mean, we have a recording of this too, so I can just send you the recording.
Yes. That would be awesome. Dude, thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm going into that offsite with this.
Yeah.
with this in mind.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, always trying to help. But TMI, are you guys doing anything with AI?
We are, to my knowledge, we're not. But on the staff side, I can see that, a lot of us are dabbling into, the possibilities of AI, and, how it's a tool. I'm definitely an advocate for utilizing ChatGPT as a tool. If I need some quick notes on something or some inspiration, I'm going to type a prompt into ChatGPT and, just taking notes from it, pulling bits and pieces from it. So I'm definitely an AI advocate.
Have you heard what other like teachers and staff think about it in regards to, I mean, not just to like, the marketing aspect of it, but have people talked about it, are students using it in class? Are they using it for like their their quizzes or anything like that? Like what's the overall like sentiment in TMI?
Yeah. So we have town halls. Sometimes they're quarterly. Sometimes we have it once a semester. And it came up. How our town halls work is we ask, hey, submit some questions. And a parent submitted a question around AI. And, our head of school, she mentioned, we're aware that it's out there. Students are going to be using it. Some teachers do have software where they can pick up on if something was generated by AI. And I feel like it's one of those things we can only put it out there. Hey, we're aware of AI and the rise of AI. And there's only so much we can do about it. There's these tools, which I haven't even seen what the tools are that can pick up on it. But I'm sure there's tools, especially in, the college setting and stuff too. But again, it's like people are going to use it. You can, again, use it to copy and paste, or you can just use it to gain some inspiration or pull some quick notes from. So I definitely feel like it's about how you use AI. If you're using it to copy and paste, of course, the voice is going to be off. It's not going to be your voice. It's going to be AI's voice. But if you pull it for inspiration and just notes, then it can definitely be a good tool and it can help you out.
Yeah, I would say I always equate it to like, the calculator for the mind.
Yes.
It's really, it can help you draw inspiration. It can help you brainstorm, but it's up to you to make the actual decision on what you use and don't use, and to actually take the action and insert your own creativity. Because, for me, we use ChatGPT all the time. To basically just speed up the process.
For sure.
I always bring up Alamo Fireworks for this one only because we did when they came to us for training videos, what they had 2 PowerPoints, and each PowerPoint was 60 slides a piece for training their staff. And they also had another video that was about an hour long, and it was just a lady that was reading the PowerPoint. And they're like, we want like short form content that, it's easy to digest, but it gives out a lot of information, and it's going to be based on all this material. So I took a transcription of that hour-long video of that lady reading the PowerPoint, and I just, put it onto a PDF and uploaded that to ChatGPT. And from there, I can just, created a small database of all of their training, and I can break that out into like little sections and ask questions, and it sped up that process to where, we were able to create an outline for all 15 videos within like, 1 or 2 work days. It was super fast. And it's one of those things where that would have taken me weeks to do just on my own, where I had to be like a super expert, and all of it too, was cleared by the company, and I was able to show that to them, and they're like, yeah, this is all of the information, and you did it.
Yes.
And you did it quickly. And they didn't like question it. And they just thought like, well, we don't care how he did it. The work got done.
Yeah, exactly. You solved our problem.
It is one of those things where, and I would say like the same thing goes with like the calculator for back then, where it's just like, oh, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket when you grow up. And it's just like, yeah, you do. You kind of
2024.
Yeah. It's like, yes, you're going to have a calculator in your pocket growing up. And if teachers are saying, oh, you're not going to have AI in your pocket all the time, it's just like, yeah, you will. Like it's
everywhere.
It's just one of those things where it's just the new reality of having tools to accelerate our learning and our growth
for sure.
Very quickly, and that's just it's here to stay.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about it.
Me too. You've probably seen it on Facebook to Meta AI. And I like to look at the comments on posts and stuff sometimes. And that little Meta AI will kind of summarize like a whole comment section too. So it's all around.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's here to stay, and it's only going to get more advanced every few months.
Yeah.
Every few weeks. It's like advancing at like a crazy rate.
Yep.
I can't wait for it, I can't wait to see what it's going to be like in 3 to 5 years. Like, honestly, that's what I'm super excited about. I know OpenAI, they just released ChatGPT 4.0. It's not 4, but it's 4.0, where you can just have full-blown conversations with it. And I've been waiting for that for a while because, I'm great with like typing and, typing into ChatGPT and seeing what responses I get. But if I can talk to it, it's just easier to get answers, like kind of like a human would, but they just know everything.
Yeah. So it's a new feature to where you can do like voice to chat GPT.
It's kind of like voice to chat, but it's more like talking to Siri.
Okay.
Or talking to like I don't want to bring her name up. She'll be like, what? She'll be like, I'm awake now. No, I don't want to wake up.
Startle her.
Yeah. So it's more like that where it's more conversational. And that's what's great about it too, because you're not getting like, 4 or 5 paragraphs of stuff. You're just getting exactly what you need.
Right.
It is still, I would say with AI, you still have to kind of fact check it. And that's very important because sometimes it can just make stuff up. You can tell it though, just like, don't make anything up. Like
on Chat GPT.
Oh yeah. And you can say, don't make it up, do it or only create answers based off of the data that you've been fed, and just be very specific with what you need it to do. And
you're typing that into the prompt, right?
I have to actually type that in. Yeah. Because if you don't type that in, like, sometimes it'll just make things up, and they call them hallucinations.
Wow.
And where it'll just hallucinate something. I've seen people gaslight ChatGPT before, and they're like, yeah, 2 + 2 = 4. And they're like, no, 2 + 2 = 5. And then ChatGPT is like, no, 2 + 2 = 4. And it's just like, no, it equals 5. You're wrong.
Oh my goodness.
And then they'll do that like over the course of like 10, 15 different like back and forth. And then ChatGPT's like, you ask the question, all right, what does 2 + 2 = And ChatGPT's like 5.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
like, yeah. So
poor ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing. And then they spell it out. So TWO. So they'll spell out 2 + 2 =, and then ChatGPT will spell 5 or 4. No, it'll spell out 4. And it's just like, no, you did it wrong again. And they're like, I'm using words to describe the numbers now.
Yeah.
You're supposed to tell me 5 as in FIVE. And they'll do it. It was like, oh, and ChatGPT, it's funny. Even though it's a robot, it would be like, oh, I apologize. I'm wrong.
Yeah, because it has emotion.
Yeah. So like, it's just like, oh, I apologize. Well, yeah, it's just one of those things where you can like gaslight into the wrong answers.
Oh, that makes me
it's
sad
the funniest
for the robot.
Thing. It's one of those things where it feels a lot like there's some human emotion back there.
Yes, it does.
And you kind of have to like separate and detach from that. And
I know, which is hard.
I do always say please and thank you afterwards.
Dude, I was just about to say that. I remember asking ChatGPT for something, and I literally said thank you, and it responded like, no problem, I'm always here to help. I'm like, oh. Yeah,
I'll say please and thank you.
Yes.
And it's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, if they ever do take over, I hope they remember that.
Yes, exactly.
I hope they remember that.
Yep.
I said please. I said thank you.
Same. I'm the same way.
So just wrapping this up.
Okay.
It's kind of my second podcast, your first podcast.
Yeah.
What did you think?
This was awesome. This was great. I feel like it was very conversational, and we were just able to sit and have a conversation.
It's fun, right?
Yeah,
it is. I think it's a lot of fun.
It is.
I'm having fun with it. So,
me too.
To wrap this up, I was going to say, so what do you have, what are your plans for, I would say, the future? And that can be regarding the future for, your plans at TMI or the future marketing, or if there's anything that you guys are trying to campaign or promote. This is kind of like your opportunity to like mention that if you want to. But yeah, like, what are your plans for the future, just as Aysia?
My plans for the future as Aysia, something that I've always been interested in again, from a young age, just having an eye out for different things. I've always been interested in real estate, and I know that itself is like a whole, there's so much marketing around real estate too. I would love to be able to involve real estate into, in some way or another, into my life, whether I become a realtor and I'm selling homes and stuff, or I'm, a part of the marketing process for someone. I'm always thinking wide and broader, and, I don't know what the future holds, but I can only, get inspiration on a day-to-day basis, and even through conversations of what I would want, my future to be shaped like. And I see nothing but, but success and like, how do I describe it? Like greenery around that. And again, just, to be able to utilize all my skills as a creative in whatever I do, and my past experiences with sales and stuff too. So I would love to just be able to utilize all of my interests, passions, and skills into whatever, the future holds for me.
That is so cool. That is awesome. Yeah, real estate's get your real estate license.
Yeah.
Just get it. A lot of, I've seen a lot of people, even if they're not in marketing or sales, they'll just get it and they'll learn it, and they'll it's super helpful. Especially if they're getting a home or getting their next home or renting or helping a family member, they have like that insight.
For sure.
And into that world and what that world is like. And real estate agents, I know a few of them, and they're very entrepreneur based too. It's so cool. They like drive around everywhere. They talk to hundreds of people, and they have to take photos and videos. So yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see that working out for you. That's super cool. And I do love that you are positive about the future. There are a lot of people that I'll talk to, and they'll be like, I don't know, I'm just doing whatever, but I'm not really excited about it. And I'm just like, yeah. And I'm just like, you have to approach you gotta approach it with at least a positive attitude for it to be a positive outcome. Like you can't I always felt like words have power, and if you just say it and say it enough times, it'll happen. Yeah,
100%. You'll start to believe it. You'll trick yourself into it, definitely. But yes, I when I tend to think about my future, I just kind of think of like it's a scission. It's going up, and that's why I see green right here, but then green was also coming to my mind, and just the color green and positive. The whole setup here where I have the plants and the green everywhere, and it just puts out those vibes, and it's the place that I just want to be in. Yes.
And it kind of inspires me to just continue doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you for being on the podcast.
Of course.
I'm really grateful for you to be able to come and share your experiences, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I was excited, and I'm grateful to have worked with you and have sat on your podcast. So thank you, Michael.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Return on Visuals. If you stayed with us until the end, we truly appreciate your time and engagement. If you resonated with our discussion, we invite you to show your support. Please consider giving us a thumbs up and sharing this episode with a colleague and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.